Good evening and welcome back to day 7 of the Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival. Tonight at 8 p.m. is the final faculty concert of this year's SICMF. But before we say anything about the music, I'd like to talk for a moment about you. Not those of you sitting inside the end of the hall this evening, but those who are joining us from elsewhere. And over the past week, we've heard from viewers across South Africa and the world. Some of you have told us you're former SICMF participants. Others are friends of this festival or family members following loved ones from thousands of kilometers away. And many of you simply love chamber music and have discovered this festival through these live streams. It's one of the extraordinary developments of this festival over the past decade, a performance that once belonged only to those fortunate enough to find a seat in the Endler, now reaches listeners around the world, and perhaps just as importantly, remains available long after the final applause has faded. And there's something very special about that, isn't there? Chamber music is one of the most immediate and intimate forms of music making, yet through these broadcasts, it also becomes one of the most widely shared. And judging by your comments and engagement over the past week, these performances have found a home in living rooms and in your imagination. And last night's faculty concert was yet another example of the way in which the SICMF's chamber music magic, as David Cohen noted in my interview last night, makes better people and the world a better place. So let's revisit the exhilarating Tarantella that brought Erwin Schulhoff's 5 pieces for string quartet to a thrilling conclusion. A reminder that at the end of the day, so much of chamber music, and all music for that matter, is about the dance, the spontaneity, the communication. Now, none of these concerts, either in the hall or our online broadcasts, would happen without an extraordinary team working quietly but very, very hard behind the scenes. And one of those people is my guest this evening, Nathan Hosalman, whose responsibilities span both festival logistics and the music library, two jobs that require extraordinary organization, calmness under pressure, and perhaps just a little clairvoyance. Being able to tell the future, sense what is needed before that message comes through. You've taken on significantly more responsibilities this year compared to previously at the festival. Are you coping?
Yeah, of course. I mean, this year has definitely posed some different challenges that I haven't thought about since being enrolled. I mean, I started as a participant, and I moved through being a participant to being an assistant while participating, then being a librarian while participating.
And was that all by accident or a deliberate desire to become more involved in arts management?
Well, I really wanted to. When I started doing assistantship, I wanted to get more involved in the arts management, but I'd never thought that I would be running the logistics team this year, especially. And I mean, as a title librarian, it was a completely different shift. And I mean, still doing part of the portfolio this year was just a whole different ballgame with the other logistic things too on top of all of that.
Now, just before we came online, I saw you with a score, which was not yours.
Yeah.
So was that one of the jobs, needing to get that to a particular person ahead of tonight's performance?
Well, technically no, but so that I have to thank my librarian Liana van Rensen for that, because she is working tirelessly throughout the whole week for participants and faculty needing music as soon as possible. And for this specific score, I have to thank my professor, Professor Yao Zai. He told me before, and I don't know if I should tell this story, but I mean, he said, Nathan, can you please bring me the music, and can you please take it and keep it, and then maybe burn it afterwards too.
Oh my goodness.
So that's something. So I do these small special requests for the faculty sometimes. Yeah.
And it's a bit of a balancing act with different modalities as well. Presumably some folks like playing off their tablets. They'll need the score in digital form. Others probably prefer hard copy, paper, make their markings.
Yes.
How do you kind of find a balance? Do you just have to have both of everything?
Yeah, so we do send digital copies, and the digital copies are better because, I mean, then we don't have to print and bind the music. This year we wanted to use a different format where we give all the participants and the faculty a little bit extra love with their music, because if the music looks good, then they will handle it with more care. But with iPads, I mean, it's amazing because you can keep everything that you need on one device.
Were there any musical or score emergencies this year where maybe parts didn't arrive in time or you weren't able to track down crucial scores?
The Corigliano was a little bit of a challenge. So we ordered it through an American website, and it actually haven't arrived yet. So we asked one of our fantastic resident,
causing trouble.
our fantastic resident composer for this, to arrange the parts, and that was just amazing. But we actually, for the Schnittke cello concerto, we ordered the music. The music came. I opened the box, and it was really early. And I opened it, and it said Bartok Viola Concerto. And we were like, oh my goodness. And I remember a few years back, the Bartok was one of the scores that were a little bit late. So it was just, we were really shocked. We laughed a little bit, and then we sent it back.
Gosh. Well, somehow you managed to maintain this air of calm, and at least my impression of the festival has just been everything's smoothly running, under control. There are no crises.
Yeah, well, for the most part, I mean, from my side, I really try to keep a calm. And I think something that this year has taught me is, if I am calm, then
that radiates outwards.
But I mean, all the screaming happens in your head, and the panic. It's the thing that I think I learned the best, or like that I learned the most this year, was the fact that of delegation. I never, because if I want to do something, I just jump on it, and that kind of person, but I mean to delegate with people and just problem solving on a next level, because it's like you said, you have to think forward, you have to think in the future for possible issues that might arise.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a special skill that you learn by being and doing the job.
And that's something that has come up in my other chats as well, is these sort of transferable skills that music teaches you, because you not think this sort of calmness on the surface, but furiously paddling, thinking, problem solving underneath is often what's going on stage in a way, especially maybe when one hasn't had as much preparation or rehearsal time for a piece as one would like. You're kind of trying to convey this impression of being in control and on top of things, but you're working furiously hard underneath to pull everything together.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's also something that's magical about music and arts administration, is because a lot of people see the end product and it's usually just something magical at the end. And I think we should see more what's happening behind the scenes, because the people working behind the scenes are just incredibly busy trying to put up this almost a mask of perfection, but going through that, it's weeks and months of preparation.
Well, enormous kudos and respect to you and your team.
Thank you.
But quickly, some of these faculty artists, some of them must be pretty tricky to work with, or very, very good to work with.
Yeah.
Any particular award winners you'd like to mention?
Well, I really enjoy working with the faculty this year, and I mean, I've seen a different side of them because I've been working more closely with them in terms of logistics and also in terms of music, of course, because I do that. And I think something that I really admire about some of the faculty is they're really on top of administration. For instance, Miklin, that's one of our first time faculty members this year. We joked and said that if he doesn't reply an email in 10 minutes or a WhatsApp message or anything, he's probably dead.
Oh gosh, we sent out a search party for him because he's just so
He's
prompt.
so quick, and it's
and that's
fantastic.
an organizer's dream, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it also comes from his work as organizing music festivals and everything. He knows what to expect and what is expected from him. And I think that it's also important for other faculty members to learn and just know about that. All of the hard work that is coming in from our side is, it works through and paves through to get a good result in the end.
Last thing, another hat you've been wearing is as a performer on the stage.
Yes.
What has one of the highlights been for you thus far in this year's SICMF from a performance point of view?
I think something that's really interesting to me for this festival, I didn't even think I would perform. I came into this as librarian, then logistics, and then somewhere I received a message saying, Nathan, we need you on clarinet. And I was placed in some of the faculty concerts, and then during the festival, I was asked to play E-flat clarinet for the Mahler in the Festival Symphony Orchestra.
Right, that's tomorrow evening.
That's tomorrow evening.
And Sunday.
Then also playing bass clarinet for the premiere that happened of the
Owen's
Owen Dalton
piece
piece a
on
few days
Monday.
ago. Yeah, and that was just amazing because I haven't experienced the full range of some of the clarinet family in 1 year of playing and doing logistics. So it's a lot of running around and a lot of playing, but I mean, I really enjoy doing
But
this.
fantastic that you're able to grow in so many facets and aspects to
Yes.
become a really well-rounded and well-equipped musician.
Yeah.
Well, Nathan, thank you for making the time. It's almost time to head inside the Endler. It's very easy for us to forget that every score on every music stand, every rehearsal schedule, every performance depends on all of this preparation. And what you're seeing really is just the tip of the iceberg. And like chamber music itself, festivals are ultimately collaborative enterprises, some a lot more complex than others. So as we head now into the hall tonight, let's revisit the opening of Ollie Mustonen's sextet from last night's faculty concert. Thank you. And so we're back inside the Endler for the seventh and final faculty concert taking place on Thursday, the 9th of July at the 2026 Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival. Large works featured on tonight's program, as you can see from the arrangement of stands and seats on the stage. 5 works, starting with Aaron Copeland and Quiet City. Let me just get my notes out here so I can tell you everything in just a touch more detail. So once again, we're celebrating remarkable diversity in musical programming this evening. Yes, Aaron Copeland's Quiet City that we've heard at this festival before. This is a work of stillness and lyricism for trumpet and English horn conducted by Karen Hendrickson. And from there we move to Paganini, not the dazzling violin virtuoso we usually associate with impossible technical feats, but Paganini the composer in a work that places the viola center stage. And then in the second half of tonight's concert, another South African premiere, Claude T. Smith's Fantasia for alto saxophone and wind orchestra with Liam Burden, before 2 further premieres, Ante Gurujin's Concertino for clarinets, and then Pavel Karmanov's Musica con cello. So it's really another program that could only happen at a festival like this, bringing together artists, repertoire, instrumental combinations that audiences that we rarely have the opportunity to experience in a single evening. It's been a busy day, this day 7, in and around the Conserve today. Student ensemble concerts continuing throughout the afternoon. We had 2 at 1 o'clock and at 5 o'clock. Then a masterclass with faculty cellist Boris Andrianov, one of our soloists later this afternoon in the FISMA Hall, and then in the Janusz Hall at 7 p.m., just before this concert. Conversation between 2 conductors, Mike Repper and Karen Hendrickson. And so we have the audience taking their seats here in the Endler. Students, visitors settling down. This is always a particularly exciting faculty concert with 1 or 2 surprises you'll see and hear later. And because in many ways the mood of this festival changes quite a bit from tomorrow, because it's the end of the faculty concerts and the start instead of the large orchestral concerts that really celebrates the culmination of the students' work over the week, working with different conductors, really seeing themselves in a large ensemble and orchestral setting, which really requires quite a different way or style of playing and communicating with one another compared to more intimate chamber arrangements. And so we have Peter Martens, our festival director, leading the charge, first out on stage for this work by Aaron Copeland called Quiet City. So he reworked this piece as a concert piece. Initially, it was incidental music for a play by Irwin Shaw. And this is intended to be a portrait of the still eeriness of a mid-century American metropolis in the dead of night. So the trumpet plays a starring role. The music unfolds in stark, contrasting statements as the trumpet comes into dialogue with the English horn. And we'll be hearing Marco Silva, our faculty trumpeter, together with Titus Underwood on the English horn this evening. And it's perhaps a musical depiction of one of the great paradoxes of modern urban life, that one can live in a city, surrounded by people and bustle and enterprise, and yet still feel utterly alone. So keep that in mind as you listen to this sparse and evocative work later. It almost looks like Henny is coming up to take his position on the conductor's podium, but it's just making sure that there's a lane for the conductor to come through, and that is Karen Hendrickson, who is making her South African and festival conducting debut this month, right here in the Endler. We saw her on the first night for Dukas, for the Sorcerer's Apprentice. And of course, she's been working very hard with the Festival Symphony Orchestra, whom we hear tomorrow evening. Or rather, the concert orchestra, I should say, because Mike Repper will be doing the symphony orchestra this year. Marco Silva, trumpet, Titus Underwood, English horn, and Karen Hendrickson, the conductor this evening. So here, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Endler Hall, Quiet City by Aaron Copeland. Close your eyes and let your imagination unfold as the music sounds before you. gosh, I do enjoy the soundscape of that piece, the eerie starkness that Aaron Copland creates. A Quiet City, Karen Hendrickson conducting this very large ensemble of faculty artists and students, together with Marco Silva, trumpet, and Titus Underwood, whom we associate with the oboe, but is playing the closely related instrument, the English horn, the cor anglais, as part of that performance. And indeed, Copland originally intended that as incidental music to Irwin Shaw's 1939 play called Quiet City, which was an early flop. It was all about a Jewish man who abandons his heritage and artistic aspirations for material success, only to be continually haunted by his brother's trumpet playing. That's the inspiration behind those whimsical, nostalgic, plaintive themes we heard Marco playing and that were echoed and answered by Titus Underwood. Farida Bakharova, the concertmaster of this ensemble, Karen Hendrickson, the conductor, once again inviting everyone for a bow and appreciating the audience's appreciation. And that was the first of 5 works on this evening's program, this 7th and final faculty concert, coming to you live in Stellenbosch on this Thursday evening from the Endler Hall. With these larger ensembles, there's going to be quite a bit of stage management and readjustments and a few traffic jams, as you can see. But what a fantastic opportunity for so many of the student participants here at the SICMF to play alongside some of these faculty artists that we've come to know and love over the past week and past years here at this festival. All the families of instruments are going to get their time in the sun this evening. They're starting off with the brass and winds. And now to balance it out, next is the strings. And this is a sonata by Paganini. Now, he lived from 1782 until, this is your pub quiz question, until 1840. And alongside Franz Liszt, who's a pianist, of course, was his generation's preeminent virtuoso. And between the two of them, Paganini and Liszt, they kind of embody one of these strange paradoxes of Romanticism. On the one hand, while the zeitgeist treasured subjectivity, artistic expression, and an almost childlike naivety about nature, it was also the era that produced virtuoso performers who were wedded to an idea of commercialization in music. And so many of Paganini's compositions were written as showcases of violin virtuosity and were put to work during his numerous European concert tours. Special applause there for some of our principals arriving and students. Percussion, brass, a lone wind player, and another one. And a plethora of strings. Well, 3 of them at any rate. A few more coming through the door. Okay, back to telling you about this piece. Paganini didn't only play the violin, he was also adept on the viola, and he commissioned Berlioz to write the famous Harold in Italy to showcase the viola. And so this evening's work is related to Berlioz because Paganini wrote it after his dissatisfaction with early drafts for a viola concerto. And so this sonata for viola, Opus 35, was first played in London in 1834, the same year that Berlioz delivered Harold in Italy. And this grand viola, for which this particular sonata is written, refers to a special large-bodied 5-string viola that Paganini had built, which he called a contraviola. And like many of Paganini's works, this sonata was only published posthumously, given that it was part of his Virtuoso roadshow. But it says here in Barry Ross's excellent program notes that I'm sharing with you, it is without a doubt one of the most difficult works in the entire viola repertoire. And how appropriate then it's played by faculty, violist this evening, Mikhail Zemtsov. David Cohen, whom we're so familiar as seeing in his guise as a cellist, will be conducting this performance. And so we have Miriam leading the tuning now of the strings. Sitting with her at that first desk is Micklin. Suzanne Martens leading the second violins. Dana Zemtsov, the violas, and very nice to see Ethan Lawson as principal cellist in this particular configuration for this performance. The student has become the master. Henny delivering the most important piece of paper for this work, the score, and David's conductor stands. Zemtsov, soloist, meeting concertmaster in the ensemble and the audience, together with David Cohen, who will be conducting this performance of the sonata for the grand viola by Niccolò Paganini. Coming to you live from the Endler Hall. Let us know what you think, and how nice to hear the viola in a solo role for a change. Only Paganini would have the audacity to write a work like that for the viola, performed there with such pizzazz by Mikhail Zemtsov, our faculty violist. And if there were any doubt as to the viola's capacity as a lyrical singing instrument, well, that would have been dispelled in that work. Gosh, almost like an opera singer at times, that instrument with its deep, throaty resonance. David Cohen, the conductor of that performance, in this large ensemble comprising faculty artists and students, Mikhail Zemtsov, soloist, and the audience, as you saw, leaping to their feet in appreciation. One doesn't hear the viola featured as a solo instrument every day, and certainly not as a soloist in a work of such virtuosity as this, and performed with such aplomb. An extremely varied work. You can tell Paganini was really taking the performer through their paces with a work like that. Bravo to both soloist and conductor and the entire ensemble. Always a treat to see Paganini on the program, because you know you're going to hear something that's fiendishly difficult, and at a chamber music festival like this, always superbly and rewardingly executed. Gosh, but all the colors that he managed to draw out of his instrument. I feel like a sports commentator here, but in a way, when one is watching a performance like that, it sort of is the athleticism that is required, not only physically, but also musically, mentally, emotionally. Years and years of training, of course, to extract a performance and distill a performance of that nature and quality. Apt with the World Cup going on at present, we have our own private World Cup here in the Endler. Although fortunately it's not of the same competitive nature, but rather one in which we share and admire one another. Some stage rearrangement going on. Once again, it will be a contrast in forces from, if you like, the string heavy nature of what we just heard to the fantasia for alto saxophone and wind orchestra now. And this is by the American composer Claude T. Smith. Liam Burden will be the soloist on alto saxophone, and we again welcome Karin Hendrickson as conductor for this performance. And so there's a convenient segue from the previous piece into this one. Paganini's interest in creating an improved viola, which was reflected in that previous piece. It was the Sonata for Grand Viola, reflected a common interest in instrument design in the 19th century. And in 1845, 11 years after Paganini employed his contraviola, the Belgian inventor Adolphe Sax won a contract to supply a new instrument to the French military. Gosh, I didn't realize it was so long ago. Over 150 years ago. Nearly 200 years ago is how old the saxophone is. The resulting saxophone family has since become one of the most ubiquitous instrument families in the world, and composers were immediately attracted to the timbral qualities of that instrument, with starring roles being provided by Bizet, Glazunov, Ravel, Ibert, Rachmaninoff, Prokofiev, and Shostakovich, Britten, Vaughan Williams, amongst others. Now, the composer Claude T. Smith, he lived from 1932 to 1987, harkens back to the Romanticists who saw so much in the saxophone, drawing neoclassical inspiration primarily from Stravinsky and Copland. So a nice link to the first piece this evening. This fantasia for alto saxophone and wind orchestra was commissioned in 1983 by the saxophone virtuoso Dale Underwood, who spent a career in the US Navy Band. And so it'll be interesting to see if those sorts of band-like inflections, maybe with some march-like qualities, will be present in this fantasia, or if, as the name suggests, the fantasia will kind of be a wandering stream of consciousness, less structured work. Just looking through my program notes here, I don't think we have a single instrument then on the stage in this next piece that belongs to the string family. It's all winds and brass. Oh no, I see we have a string bass player, and indeed on the stage I see a double bass there is on its side, ready to be uprighted. And here come our musicians. Many faces that will now be quite familiar to you. It's always fun to have lots of brass instruments on the stage. There's something about the glinting of those instruments that really lends a grandeur and festivity to the evening. I see we also have piano engaged. We have some percussion as well, quite a large percussion department. Chris Burgess on timps. Fernando Lupambo on the piano there. And always looking so dashing, Liam Burden, our solo alto saxophonist in this work. There he is, brandishing his instrument, taking the bow, greeting his ensemble, and Karen Hendrickson, our conductor, for this Fantasia for alto saxophone and wind orchestra by the American composer Claude T. Smith, the first of 3 South African premieres this evening. It's not every day one gets to hear what in effect is a mini concerto for saxophone. Kudos, Liam Burden, all that furious virtuosity. Again, such a naturally singing instrument. And the controlled elegance of Karen Hendrickson's conducting. Fabulous. And wonderful to hear the sound of a wind ensemble on the stage at the SICMF. That in itself is quite a novelty. And we'll get to hear more from that group on Saturday afternoon here in the Endler Hall. The Fantasia for alto saxophone and wind orchestra there by the American composer Claude T. Smith, a South African premiere, the first time that work has been heard on our shores. Here comes Liam back for much-deserved ovation. Karen Hendrickson acknowledging him and the rest of the ensemble. Yes, Liam acknowledging his instrument, in many ways the star of the show, although as Bach famously said about keyboard instruments, it's really just pressing the right notes at the right time and the instrument plays itself. Well, we all know what a gross oversimplification that is. And so that concludes the first half of this 7th faculty concert. We've started off with Copland and then moved to the virtuosity of Paganini for the viola and ended with a celebration of winds there and the saxophone in particular. Now I'm going to be chatting to Siwoo Kim, faculty violinist and a regular here at the SICMF in the interval. So while I go out to join him and we get him hooked up, here is another beautiful moment from last night's 6th faculty concert. And this is the Glière Octet that I think had everyone talking as a new discovery after last night's concert. And here in particular, I'd like to share with you the soulful, slow movement of that octet. Welcome back to the now very familiar foyer of the Endler Hall here in Stellenbosch. We've just heard a wonderfully varied first half of music, from the quiet introspection of Aaron Copeland to Paganini's showcase for the viola and then some saxophone splendor. And it's another reminder that virtuosity comes in many different forms. My guest this evening is one of the SICMF's most admired returning faculty artists, violinist Siwoo Kim. Siwoo, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
We were just saying this is your third SICMF,
Yes.
2017, 2025, 2026. So this chat is long overdue.
Right.
Thanks for being game just before you go back on stage.
Oh,
as
sure.
well.
Honored.
So,
Yeah.
so the question then as a festival third time, at 2026, what will stand out for you in your memory when you think back to this year's festival?
Sure. I think, well, last year obviously was a very
20
big
years.
milestone. Yeah.
Right.
And I think this year, I could just see that things are very solidified, and it's like, okay, what are we going to do for the next 20 years? And there are a lot of fresh faces, both with students and with faculty. But I think it just always still feels like family. And I think everyone's really just giving it their all because like they know that this is a special place that has a long future ahead. So I know I can speak for myself that every time I teach a student or I perform or I rehearse, I want to be the best colleague, the best teacher, the best thing, everything. Watching that documentary of the 20th anniversary like had me in tears.
It's very, very special. And to have been part of that, but it is a bit of a balance, a sort of tension, as you suggested. On the one hand, not wanting to disturb the winning formula and this very special family feel that has been created, but then needing to also refresh, innovate.
Yes.
But then you don't want to deviate too much from what you know works.
Right, and Nina Schumann, her programming is just super innovative. Like every single piece I'm playing this year, I think, with the exception of the Brook to be performed on Saturday, are works that I never heard of.
That's
including the
really
Gruyere
off the
Flint.
beaten track.
Yeah, but like what a treat to get to know these works. And bravo to Nina for having the courage to believe in these programs. And the audience obviously here loves it, and that feels so amazing on stage. Yeah.
That's a lot of new music to get your head around and not very much time. Out of interest, when does Nina share that program with you, and when do you start receiving the scores so that you can start wrapping your head around the music? Because
Sure.
once you arrive,
Yeah.
you hit the ground running and there's barely any rehearsal time.
Yes. So I believe she sent it around February.
Okay.
And
March, April, May, June, July.
yes.
Sort of 4 months or so.
However, all the musicians here, again, an honor to be a part of it. Everyone is quite busy already during the year, whether they're teaching or touring. So there's a mountain of work and repertoire that people are working on already. So for myself, like I classified this under summer repertoire, and it's important for us to all show up with, either playing off the score or having cues written in, having our parts down, all the difficult licks, take it just all settled because due to the festival being so ambitious, the faculty only have time for about 4 total hours of rehearsing per piece. And when they're completely new and you can't kind of play off of your ear or what's in your head, you need to be very well prepared and very efficient and be very wise about time management.
I'm interested to know how those limited rehearsal hours play out. Do you sort of start by almost talking through the music and kind of reaching a shared collective vision, or do you kind of launch right into it and then have a debrief after that, or is it piece specific?
That's a very good question. I think it's all contextual. Every group that's put together is different because social dynamics play, and then there also might be difference in age and everything. And,
Seniority and
exactly.
those kinds of
But
things.
when I was working with with the students today, the chamber groups, I said, for my taste, personally, I like to think big to small. So you establish a blueprint. Okay, there are 3 movements, and in this movement, we have like 4 tempo changes. How are we going to navigate those, etc.? Do we like the tempo that we selected? Do we like the temperament do we agree on a temperament of each section based on the harmony or whatever
Sounds
clues
quite
that the composer?
democratic,
Yes, exactly.
consultative.
Yes. And then once the blueprint is laid out, the artists here are so amazing that I respect them and I trust that they're going to add the sauce, all the little nuances and everything and balancing. It's like driving a Ferrari because everyone is doing that anyway. And I trust that that's going to happen and all the spontaneity. So that's how I like to approach. And so for the groups that I was in, I always proposed that we just read it down from beginning to end as soon as we sit down to see what we're dealing with, to see where were the tricky spots.
So you have a starting point.
Yes, and it kind of illuminates where we're going to have to like kind of spend a little more time, and then we start working section by section. I tend to be a little bit of a time police. Other faculty members might chuckle if they see this, but I'll say, okay, we have 45 minutes left. This piece is about 25 minutes. Do we want to do a run? Because that's something that I like to do before the day of the concert, so that there's no stress.
Yes, good.
And then on the day of the concert,
and then you also have the big arc in mind as well, because it's one thing in a rehearsal working in a bitty way and this and that and the next, but then how's it all going to unfold as a whole?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I love this quote. I learned this from Leon Fleischer, who was an amazing American pianist. And he told me, you design a house first when you work with other musicians. You design the house. You don't design a whole house around your favorite ashtray.
Right. Very good.
My one little moment or something.
Indeed, or the one phrase.
Yeah.
It's the big picture. But are there ever times when it feels like there might not be enough time, and then maybe you come onto the stage here feeling quite nervous, and perhaps it all works out and everyone just rises to the occasion and kind of combined experience and musicianship just take over?
This year, personally, with the repertoire that I had, I felt like we were quite ready.
Okay.
I think, mentally prepared for the ethos and the time constraints that we have here. But last year was my first time coming back in like 7 years or 8 years. And I remember being struck by the ambitious program of the Wiedemann Octet.
That's right.
And,
That's what everyone's talking about.
Wiedemann Quartet was incredible.
Yes.
But you add 4 more brains to
Yes.
that. And 4 more likelihoods of going
Indeed,
somewhere
like
else.
when we heard the Gliela in the octet, I mean, that kind of made sense in a way, and one could appreciate the complexity.
Yeah,
If
I
one
love
then
that you
takes
said
that-
that. Makes sense.
Yes.
I think that is the role of a performer, is for the music that we have to share it and for the audience to say, oh, I get that.
Yeah.
Like a TV show. Okay, we went on an arc.
Exactly.
There's conflict, now there's resolution, triumph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Glia still for me it was fantastic last, and the sonorities and the intricacy. I mean, the octet, I guess, is a very special number in a way, because it's sort of verging on the cusp of sort of chamber music into larger forces almost.
Yes.
And then obviously to have just all of you on stage last night, and you could zoom in to whoever you wanted to focus on, was just beautiful. And
Thank you. And I
a real
never heard that
treat.
piece before,
Yeah.
and I want to program it at my festival one day.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. Tell
Yeah.
us about your festival, how
Sure.
that came about, and how it may be similar to or different from Stellenbosch.
Sure. Amazing. So my festival is in my hometown of Columbus, Ohio, in the United States. And we are headed towards our 12th season. It always takes place at the end of August or the beginning of September, depending on the year.
Very different season from the middle of winter
Yes,
here
it's
in
very,
Cape Town.
very hot right now in the US,
Right.
as it is in Europe. I founded it with my best friend, co-artistic director John Stoltz, who's a fantastic violist whom I grew up with in Columbus, but he is now based in Paris. He's in Ensemble Intercontemporain. And at a certain period, I was studying at the Juilliard School, and he was doing an academy program at Carnegie Hall. And when he won that job in Europe, he was leaving New York, and we just kind of were sitting on my rooftop in New York. Not glamorous, not a glamorous rooftop, but we were just sitting there. Just like, it was slightly drizzling rain. We had a little bit of whiskey, and we were just sitting, like thinking, like, wow, this has been an amazing couple years, like being reunited in the same city and hanging out and making great memories as friends. Do we want to do something that'll keep us in contact?
Fantastic, and that idea was born.
Yeah, so we were like, okay, our hometown, Columbus, why not we go there every summer and present world-class chamber music that we've grown to love, that we are spoiled with in our own profession, but Columbus at that time had a lack of like a premier chamber music festival that could potentially inspire future generations to want to go into it. And also the beauty of chamber music is that it's incredibly portable. You can play it anywhere.
Indeed.
So my festival, I think the way it differs slightly from Stellenbosch Festival, both are both exist to inspire and be impactful. Ours is heavily focused on the city of Columbus because that is our shared hometown.
Yes.
And we, for instance, our rehearsals take place in a retirement center, and all the rehearsals are open. So
Gosh, fantastic.
that community gets to mingle with us artists, and we are doing outreach just by rehearsing and making someone's day a little brighter with music.
Absolutely.
Just by rehearsing. And each artist is tasked with going out into the city and playing for Children's Hospital or playing for Dance with Parkinson's or all these different sort of initiatives. Like the community, like we have a lot of partners in the city, and we just saturate the city with world-class music and have core concerts. Also have an informal concert at a brewery.
Oh, very good.
It is our hope that by the end of the festival, we have helped build audiences for classical music, not just to say like, oh, for the business of it, or for, you know, for money or anything. But I think I truly believe everyone has the capacity and also probably an innate desire to love music, to love this incredible literature. But I'm not sure, like I'm here in South Africa, Europe. In the United States, where I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, a lot of people felt some trepidation about stepping into a concert hall.
Right, indeed.
Do I
Well,
have to
there's
wear
particular etiquette, and we don't know what the rules are.
Exactly.
Exactly. And this value of role modeling as well. When people see someone that looks like me playing this music, or
Yes.
I'm hearing it can be done. There is a role for musicians. I could have a job one day if I were to pursue this.
That's exactly that.
Invaluable.
Yes, and we reached our 10th season a couple years ago, and we thought, what can we do now for the next 10 years? So I empathize with this 20. We're like the younger sibling. So we created a program called Vivo Next, which is, we're starting off small, but one day I hope we can impact as many students as this place. But we invite a few artists through auditions, and they perform with us. They curate their own concert. We hope that they become take interest in becoming entrepreneurial and starting more organizations to really spread the joy of classical music and chamber music.
What would you say are the sort of challenges you face then running a festival like this? Is it time, energy, money, all of the above? If you were
The challenges.
the challenges.
Oh, the challenges. Oh, yeah.
If you were given kind of a blank check, you could wish for anything in order to grow the festival in the way that you would like. What resource would be most helpful in
Time.
Time, right?
Because for me, I initially thought, do I want to start a year-long series? But I chose Summer Festival because I have a team,
Right.
and we work on it sporadically throughout the year. We have certain big deadlines to meet, like season announcement or website must be updated or
Yes.
board meetings. However, running a summer festival grants me time to be a performer,
Yes.
which is maybe like I am more a performer than I am a festival director in terms of
Right.
like the graph.
Yeah.
But performing keeps me on the road quite a bit. And for running an organization that is based in Columbus, I wish I could be there more often.
Yes.
But I try to do that as much as I can. But often, like I am barely home in New York in my own apartment.
Right. Yeah.
So
Well, here you are being an ambassador for your festival and
thank you.
flying that flag in other ways. But yes, never quite enough time or all of these things one would want.
Yeah, time is the greatest currency, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like money, we can fundraise. I at this point, after with 12 years under my belt, I'm confident that I can raise the funds, at least for our modest-sized festival.
Right.
Perhaps if we really want to expand it, then we're gonna have to raise a lot more money. But
Do you think that kind of the value of time is something that is being instilled even to the students here at this festival? that could manifest in the form of deliberate practice, for example.
Yes.
There's no good spending 8 hours in the practice room if you're not doing it in a thoughtful
That's right.
and mindful way. Are you really focusing on playing with the best technique, or focusing on the problem passages rather than just playing over and over again what you know well?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. That's something that I try to instill in them as well. When I teach, I try to simplify things and try to give them certain tools that make, I've been very happy to see some aha moments, and hopefully that it saves them time,
Yes.
so that they
right.
can live a life, and when they live a life, that they can put that into their music, all the
Right.
experiences that they have.
Yeah, music's a funny medium because it exists in time and through time as well. Music cannot exist without, so again, this constant sort of tension and
Yes.
balance. So kind of talking quickly then about time again, 2.5 years, 2.5 years old, I think you were when you started your
Yes.
instrument, the violin. And was that a no-brainer for you? Or as much as you can remember back then, was it always inevitably going to be the violin, or did you look with lust at other instruments at times?
I did play some other instruments, apparently. I have photos.
Uh-huh.
My parents were very ambitious, and there's a photo of me at 8 days old in the crib next to a violin.
Mhm.
But I also played cello, I played piano, I took English classes, mathematics, art, Chinese, apparently. So I was a very busy child before kindergarten.
Yeah.
But I don't ever remember starting the violin, so it really just feels like just
Yeah.
a part of me.
Yes.
And
A natural extension.
but like I told my parents when I was a teenager that I was a little bit more rebellious, but I was like, "You're lucky that I love this."
Yes, indeed. I mean, the sacrifices they may have had to make, orally speaking, in those early years
Yeah,
as
no,
well.
I owe them so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you play a particularly special instrument?
I have throughout the years, in terms of like special, meaning like old or a maker. I was very blessed since the age of 12. Like I was always on loans, and in my teens through until 2 years ago, I was very lucky to play on these Stradivari, Guaraninis. I had this violin that was kind of led me to believe that it was a life loan,
Mhm.
something that I could never purchase unless that's my only goal in life.
Yes.
But 2 years ago, it was abruptly taken away.
Gosh, that must
And
have been
that was my like
quite
sort
a
of last
difficult.
straw
Okay.
of
gosh.
like doing the loaning thing.
Yes.
I was like, I need
The
my own
certainty and
instrument.
security.
It's like I dated a lot of supermodels.
Yes. Very good.
And now it's time for me to get married. And I found, I think, my life partner. Maybe, perhaps, if someone says, "Here, play on the Stradivari," I might play it again.
Right. Yeah.
But this violin is a violin by Joseph Curtin.
Mhm.
Curtin, Curtin.
Yes.
He is based in Ann Arbor, Michigan, in the United States. One of the greatest violin makers alive today, I think. And this happens to be his favorite violin. He wasn't going to sell it. He was studying it to see what anomaly allowed it to have certain
Its
qualities
quality,
of
right.
these old great instruments. But a friend knew that I was searching and like ran into him somewhere serendipitously and saw that violin. So said he played a note and went, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Could you please sell this to my friend Siwoo?" And this fun story, but he brought it to Itzhak Perlman's apartment where I was
Yes.
reading chamber music with Mr.
That's
Perlman.
so. Gosh.
And he opened the door and he's like, "I got your violin!"
Amazing.
And he opens it and I read it. And then like they were all nodding.
Yeah.
And then I asked Mr. Perlman, "Can you play on this violin?"
Yes.
And then he played it. He goes, "Great violin, buy it now."
Gosh, yes. To have that kind of endorsement.
Yes.
Incredible. Very special. So,
Yes.
following on, the last thing we need to talk about quickly is your concerto that we're
Yes.
playing on Saturday. How's that going? Excited?
It's going so great. It's
Yeah.
a massive orchestra,
Uh-huh.
but they're being so sensitive and working so hard.
Yeah.
This concerto, oddly, is a new addition to my repertoire.
Okay,
I
gosh.
performed it for
One
the
of
first time.
greats. And,
Right, and it's usually, at least in the United States, it's usually one of the first concertos you learn as a child.
So, okay.
But I never learned it.
Well, how special to be able to come back to it. Well, to come to it now.
Yeah, so I learned it
This maturity and.
absolutely. So I learned it for this past January, where I performed it with the Brevard Symphony.
Okay. Right.
And it was cool to get like a note from Nina asking, "Would you play the Brook in Stellenbosch?"
Perfect.
So I'm grateful to have two chances at it. One here at the Endler and one in
At the outreach concert, the community concert.
which I love doing.
Excellent,
So
yeah.
it's a concerto that wears its heart on its sleeve. And I don't know, like there was a moment today I was saying, I talked to the orchestra, I said, guys, this part is one of my favorites. It's like we've climbed this mountain and there's this storm, but we still persevere. We're gonna climb up each step of, the scale degrees. Like let's climb
Yes,
together.
I can
Dum,
hear it.
bum, bum, bum,
Exactly.
bum, bum, bum,
Yeah.
and they went in like with hearts full, and it was exhilarating.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for the payoff of all this work that we've been doing
Fantastic. And
together.
as you say, once again, I mean, communication, just sharing that kind of very vivid way of imagining the music with the musicians must take it to another level. We are really short of time, so we need to dash. See, we're
Yes.
so grateful. You need to get on stage.
Yes.
Now, just quickly, one of the great pleasures of these live streams is knowing that conversations like this will also become part of the festival's archive, so that we'll be able to revisit these later, the personalities, the friendships, the reflections that make the SICMF unique. So we're going to head inside for now another 2 South African premieres, but first we just need to go back to last night's encore, the Pulp Fiction bit. Let's revisit that before we start the second half. And we're back. The 7th faculty concert, the second half, and regulars to this festival will know that we always have a prize-giving segment in the slot. Teresa and Nathan together are going to be presenting this.
Good evening, everyone. Before we wrap up this concert, as we do every year, we have a few fun, heartfelt, and slightly ridiculous awards to hand out. A quick logistical note before we begin. As I call your name, please come to the front immediately, collect your gift, and pause for a photo with our photographer, Tiffany, before heading back to your seat. Our first award is the Working the Night Shift Award, and it goes to Benjamin Milan and Ruben van Nieuwenhuizen. Kan jij oor aan de... Throughout the festival, okay. Just pose. Okay. Throughout the festival, Benjamin and Ruben have been serenading guests as they arrive at the Endler, armed with a violin or eru and accordion. And for the record, the SICMF can take absolutely no credit for this, and this was entirely their own initiative. Benjamin and Ruben, thank you for finding yet another opportunity to create music. Okay.
Lift the mic up a little bit for me if you're not.
Okay. Next up, we have the Locked In Award, and this goes to Zandi van Dijk.
I get to.
And I think the name of this award works on... Oh, okay. The name of this award works on multiple levels, and those of you who attended yesterday's concert witnessed Zandi's incredibly passionate performance of the Pulp Fiction arrangement Encore. But before this incredible performance could happen, Zandi was also quite literally locked in a room, and Zandi managed to lock himself and a whole coaching group in a room that also included an unlocked door. So, Zandi, we're very glad you made it out so we could hear that performance. Our next award is the How Are You Still Standing Award, and it goes to Miklin Laipang. Miklin is he's a first-time SICMF faculty member, and we appear to have responded to this by giving you absolutely no time to rest. He has performed in 8 concerts, played 9 different works, which includes a concerto on Sunday at 4:30, participated in 2 in-conversation pre-concert talks, and somehow, despite all of this, remains one of the most energetic, enthusiastic, kind, and positive people at this festival. Congratulations. Next up is the Best Dressed Award, and this year we of course could not choose one winner. So could Lachelle Venter, Kumotsile Rancho, Chiara De Mayo, Kitso Mereng, Diago Leroux, and Kafense Mochabi please come to the stage? Daar's 2 chocolates en 2 wyne. You're fine. You're so fine. Our next award is the Heartbeat Award, and it goes to the SICMF percussion ensemble that performed on Wednesday. So could Amy Joy Bailey, Kyra Adams, Hannah Purchase, Hannah McKay, Chris Burgess, Stuart Martin, Diego Leroux, again, Justin Leroux, Katlego Vuma, Dylan Tabisha, Abungile Sihawu, and Victoria Sparks, please make your way to the stage. This
You're shorter than I am.
and that award recognizes perhaps the most energetic and joyful group of musicians at the entire festival. Your lunch hour concert was so infectious that the audience didn't just applaud, they got up and danced along. Thank you for bringing rhythm, energy, and an enormous amount of joy to this festival. Thank you. Our next award is the Music Comes First Award, and it goes to Owen Dalton. Newcomers to the Chamberfest might know Owen as this year's remarkable invited composer, but many of us know Owen for much longer as a participant, a brilliant oboist, composer, arranger, and an extraordinary musician. And what I admire most about you, Owen, is that everything is always about the music. And to prove Owen's dedication to music, I'd like to recall a memory from Chamberfest 2024. And I myself had to play a C clarinet part, and a slightly panicked Teresa sent a message to Owen late at night asking him to arrange my part. And I hoped that the next morning I might receive a confirmation that he would help me. Instead, at 3 o'clock in the morning, Owen sent me a beautifully prepared PDF of the transposed part, and he never asked for payment or never asked for anything in return. So Owen, please consider this award a 2-year overdue payment, but more importantly, it is a recognition of the musician you have become. I'm going to do the description first for this one. Our next award is the Email That Could Award. As most of you know, this year we introduced the Festival Symphony Wind Orchestra. And while we would love to take full credit for this initiative, we can't, because it all started with an email. This person sent the festival a detailed proposal suggesting the creation of a wind orchestra, complete with repertoire ideas, logistical suggestions, and ways the festival could better serve its wind players. And somehow that email was persuasive enough to convince the festival director to implement an entirely new ensemble 3 months before the festival, much to the logistical team's detriment. And this award goes to Chiara De Maio. And our final award is a very special one and is named the Heart of Chamberfest. And this goes to 2 very special people, Henny Reiter and Letty Isaacs. And although Although to regular Chamberfest attendees, they need absolutely no introduction, for 20 years, by the way, Henny and Letty have worked tirelessly behind the scenes of this festival, serving as our residents' parents and helping us look after generations of Chamberfest participants. And for 20 years, Letty has been a compassionate, caring, and very friendly guardian to our students, always making sure that everyone is safe, supported, and looked after. And Henny has been a very charismatic bundle of joy, who has somehow managed to receive almost as much applause for setting up the stage as some, as some musicians performing on it. Henny and Letty, no award, gift, or speech could ever adequately express our gratitude for 20 years of service, care, and dedication. You have looked after generations of young musicians. You have become part of the history and fabric of Chamberfest, and this festival would simply not be the same without you. Henny and Letty, thank you very much for 20 extraordinary years. Please join me in celebrating Henny and Letty. Thank you very much. I remind everyone that we're selling our international artist CDs in the foyer, and please enjoy the rest of the concert. Thank you.
Always very heartwarming, this prize giving ceremony, and one of the real ways in which this festival builds and celebrates its community. We keep on talking about the family feeling of this festival and the way in which the faculty members, the students keep coming back year after year, and it's especially because of these small gestures and ways of recognizing and celebrating if the students, the faculty artists, Henny and Letty's contributions over many, many years to this festival that contributes to building the spirit and sense of community, the esprit de corps of the SICMF. Thank you, Teresa and Nathan, for those presentations. Siwu, fresh off his interview hot seat as concertmaster for this next work, which is the Concertino by the Croatian composer and clarinetist Ante Grgin. He was born in 1945, equally distinguished as an educator, soloist, and longtime principal clarinetist of the Belgrade Philharmonic Orchestra. Grgin's lyrical style is perfectly suited, and I love this in Barry Ross's program notes, to the liquid tonal quality of the clarinets. How do you like that? As will be exemplified now by Yao Guangchai, the soloist in this work. Grgin's influences are eclectic, harmonic inflections from jazz, folk influence from the Balkans, and a structural approach influenced by classical forms. This concertina reflects this general approach to music, serving almost as a symphony in jazz clothing. And here comes one of our longest friends of this festival, Yao Guangchai, as our soloist, and more recently to our conducting ranks, because he's been back a few times now, Mike Repper, who will be leading this work, the Concertina by Grgin, as he says here, a symphony in jazz clothing. properly blending the classical, jazz, and folk worlds. The concertino by the Croatian composer and clarinetist. Of course, he would have to be a clarinetist to be able to write for the instrument like that. Ante Gurjan. And they're played by Yaguang Chai, faculty clarinetist, being embraced there by Mike Repper, the conductor, leading our large ensemble as part of the 7th and final faculty concert at the 2026 SICMF. Such appreciation for our faculty clarinetist, Yao Guang. And what a cool piece, the way it effortlessly combined and moved amongst those different styles. Close your eyes and you could have been in a whole bunch of different places for that piece. The appreciative audience on their feet. Siwoo Kim, concertmaster, for that performance. Yao Guang Chai, his masterful liquid tonality playing on that instrument. And Mike Repper, the conductor. And time now for one final rearrangement, courtesy of Henny and his team here in the Endler Hall for the last work on the program, Musica con Cello. And that'll feature our soloist this evening, faculty cellist Boris Andrianov. Once again, Mike Repper will be leading that work. Incidentally, the concertino we've just heard was a South African premiere, as will be this next work, which I believe requires some special amplification for this cello. Not surprising, considering that the composer is also a rock musician. So he's a Russian composer and rock musician, is Pavel Karmanov. He lived from 1970, passed away 2 years ago in 2024. And he's often been associated with the so-called New Simplicity movement, where composers rejected the avant-garde of the 1950s and 60s in favor of a simpler, more subjective style. And Karmanov augmented this with a post-minimalist approach, foregoing a strict theoretical process in favor of achieving a similar effect through aesthetic judgment alone. Trained at the prestigious Moscow Conservatory, Karmanov has effortlessly straddled musical worlds, much like our composer of the previous piece, acting as a pianist and flautist for a rock band while simultaneously writing music for the concert stage. And this particular work, La Musica con Cello, was commissioned in 2014 for our faculty cellist and soloist tonight, Boris Andrianov. You can see a carpet being laid out on stage there for the drum kits. And our two bassists, Zoran Markovic and Roxana Stefan, getting ready. The final number of this final faculty concert always brings us firmly back into this first quarter of the 21st century. Festival director Peter Martens coming onto stage, and followed by many of his string colleagues. Even Mikhail Zemtsov, our soloist from earlier, one would think he would have earned the privilege of sitting in the back row with a stiff drink, enjoying the rest of the concert. But no, must be put to work. But of course, what a pleasure to be able to play in this concert and in these varied pieces and in so many different capacities, as soloist, as ensemble musician, as section leader, as the case may be. And once again, the composition of this ensemble really emphasizing the intergenerationality of this festival and huge wealth and mix of experience between the faculty artists and the younger musicians. What truly must be feel like, seventh heaven, a once in a lifetime experience to be able to sit alongside, play alongside one's role model, someone who has mastered one's instrument to such a level. Even Yao Guang must barely have caught his breath from the previous piece. And there he is, sitting next to Nathan, the back row clarinets. So nice to see Julia, our faculty bassoonist, together with Offense, her new instrument, presumably the one she received from the festival that Mike Rapper brought in last year, the 20th SICMF. We have some trombones, trumpets, clarinets and oboes, horns, and then, of course, the strings. With Siwu inviting the orchestra to tune. Special shout out to Elizabeth Retief, who seems to be making a special appearance on the keys. Welcome, Elizabeth. And so, any moment now, the person for whom this piece was written, Boris Andrianov, will emerge, and there he is. Another firm faculty favorite of this festival. The piece that was written for him in 2014, Musica Concello by Pavel Karmanov, Mike Rapper taking to the podium. Enjoy this South African premiere and the culmination of the faculty concerts at this year's Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival. Epic, 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 I think is the only word to describe a performance like that. Channeling the symphonic stadium appeal of Hauser. Wasn't sure whether we were going to go into Lord of the Dance or Hans Zimmer, but very, very cool indeed. Boris Andrianov, our soloist, for whom that piece was written in 2014 by the Russian composer Pavel Karmanov, led by Mike Repper, who must come back on the stage immediately. Yes, don't just hang on the sidelines. And a faculty and student ensemble who are positively jamming to that work. What a treat. I mean, we've seen Boris play like properly hardcore chamber music this week, and now to see him in a totally different guise, testament once again to the musicianship and versatility of our faculty artists here at this festival. Boris Andrianov, Mike Repper, Siwoo Kim, concertmaster of that large ensemble, marking the culmination. As always, there's a rock theme to this final work on the program of the 7th faculty concert. And that brings us to the end of this first main chapter of this year's festival. Over the next 3 nights, the student orchestral concerts unfold, so we're still in for real treats. Lots of music, our faculty artists as soloists, but this really the jewel in the crown, demonstrating all the works tonight, the soloists, the South African premiers, the versatility, the range of styles, genres that were covered, why this festival is so existed, continues to be supported and beloved by so many. And so concludes another unforgettable evening of music here at the 2026 Stellenbosch International Chamber Music Festival. Tonight's program, as I mentioned in the hall just now, reminded us once again why festivals like this matter. They allow us to hear unusual repertoire, discover remarkable soloists, and encounter combinations of instruments that rarely appear in conventional concert settings. Thanks to these live streams, those discoveries are no longer confined to the walls of the Endler Hall. Now, tomorrow evening marks another important chapter in this festival as we move into the final 3 concerts, the orchestral concerts that represent the culmination of 10 days of intensive rehearsal and coaching for our student participants. The Festival Symphony Orchestra takes the stage under Mike Repper for music by Gabriela Ortiz, Alfred Schnittke, and Mendelssohn, a program of enormous color, virtuosity, and emotional range. If you've been with us throughout the week, thank you for making this journey with us. And if tonight was your first SICMF live stream, we hope that you'll stay with us for the festival's grand finale over the next 3 evenings. And so until tomorrow, from all of us here at the Endler, and from the many people behind the cameras, the microphones, the control desks, who make these broadcasts possible, thank you for watching. This is John Woodland wishing you a very good night. We'll see you tomorrow for another evening of chamber music magic.